Okay, as we get into the semester, it's becoming more clear that these are going to become recent reads. I may update more than once, I may not. That being said, welcome back to my channel. In this video, you have my reads for the third week of October. September. See, my brain is gone. I don't know what week it is. I don't know what month it is, apparently. Last week, I had an amazing reading week. I can't even talk tonight. Anyway, amazing reading week last year. Last week? Wow, I'm definitely keeping this in. Anyway, had an amazing reading week. 3 5-star books that were really long, so only 3 books. This week, I got to 5 books, but it feels like I read less because one of the books I read basically all day today. Today was one of the contests for JD Ray Reads Pokeathon year-long Patreon readathon. In the contest, you read a 500 plus page book and the color was green. So I read Empire of Gold. I mean, this is basically green, but I'll get to that in a moment. If you set that aside, I have 4 other books. One I read physically. Yes, I actually had a physical read. The other 3 I read via audiobook, and they were on the shorter side. So around 11 to 12 hours via audiobook, which is much more manageable. Let's go through those. I'm going to start with The Dream Thieves. I will be completely honest. This was the first book I finished this week, and my brain is not functioning at top form, as we've already seen in this video. So I'm not remembering a lot about this. As much as I loved the first book upon reread, this one felt like a step down for me. I am intrigued to see where it is going, but I wasn't as drawn in by the events of this book. This one definitely leans way more into the fantasy side. It delves more into Ronan's backstory. Blue feels like a side character in this. Obviously, she's in it. There are scenes that take place at her residence, but we don't get any from her perspective. This was an interesting take on the series, but my brain is struggling to remember details. I don't think that's a fault of the book, though. I think that's a fault of where my brain is right now. Then we went to The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. This was not originally on my TBR for the month, but I had an audio copy checked out on my Libby app, and I'm almost fairly certain that this is going to be on the Young Adult Fantasy list, on the Goodreads list this year, Goodreads Choice Awards, I should say. So I decided, I found another prompt. I think this fulfilled a prompt that was a book shown in one of G's videos. I know she's talked about this series. The Prisoner's Throne, I don't remember which prompt that filled. That's one of the extra ones that I don't actually need. I am almost done with that. There are just 3 more books that I need to finish for that. One is The Obelisk Gate. I'll be getting to that next because it's coming up due in a couple days, 2-3 days, and there's a hold already on it, so I can't check it out right away afterwards. So I want to get that read. And then the other 2 I have to read physically. So I'm going to maybe see if there are not audiobook, because I've already checked. There are no audiobook copies. I'm going to maybe see if there are ebook copies of it, especially of The Phoenix Keeper, because that's a special edition. But those are the 3 required reads left, and I definitely need to get to them this week because September is ending this week. Now that I say that, I'm like, oh, okay. It is the conclusion to this duology, and in this one, as opposed to the first book in this duology, it is actually told from Oak's point of view. The first one was told from Ren's point of view. And that was a refreshing take on this because she is not part of the main character's family like Oak is. And because it was told from Oak's perspective and not Ren's, it did take me a little bit to get into it and to remember some of the things that went on. I don't know necessarily how I feel about the fact that Oak was the primary perspective in this. The first book in this duology did not feel like an add-on to the Folk of the Air series. This one did. Carden, Jude, they have cameos, but they're like longer. They're way more involved. in this because they actually go back to their court. I found it interesting the way that it wrapped up and the way that Oak was his own character and he's no longer the little boy that you saw in the Folk of the Air series. He's his own fully fledged person. It stretched it a little bit for me, and I don't have the same nostalgia for the Folk of the Air series, even though I really loved it, but it didn't lend any saving grace to this. So it'll probably end up a 4-star. I haven't put any of these through Cawpile. When I get home at the end of the day, my brain does not want to work at all. As you can see in this video filmed on a Saturday evening. Then we get to my favorite of this week, One Piece. I was so nervous getting into this because it is so hyped. And so many other booktubers whose fantasy tastes align with me and a lot that don't have loved this. And I just was so nervous going into it. I could not get enough of it. I wanted to go out and buy the next few omnibuses, or however you make that a plural. I haven't yet. I'm going to wait till the end of the month, see if I have any tokens or credits that I've earned on my little gamification of my to-do list. But this is just so fun. There's so much that's been said about this, so I won't belabor the point. But the way these characters are so endearing, and I've read 3 volumes. That's it. Just 3 volumes. And I love all of them already. I'm a One Piece fan, and this is going to be bad for my wallet. The next book I read is an audiobook. I had an ALC, Advanced Listening copy, through Libro FM. This book was published last year, so yeah, I didn't listen to it in advance of publication. My mom has actually already read it. I, earlier on in the week, in the evening, had caught up on my YouTube, wanted to listen to an audiobook, but did not want fantasy. I didn't want a narrative. I was feeling the whole documentary sort of thing. So I pulled this one up. This was one of the books that was on one of these supplementary prompts, and it was a color that's the color of your birthstone month, and my birth month is July. Birthstone is ruby, so hence this book. I found especially the opening to this so profound, and I was really intrigued by this study into this look into the lives of 3, you can argue 4 different men who worked as lawyers as part of the something, I don't even remember the acronym, but they basically worked as lawyers in these internment concentration camps for the Japanese in the US. And they each had a very unique perspective on it. And the way that the author talked about it in the beginning, I really appreciated. His prologue was so full of a lot of profound thoughts. Now, the rest of the narrative did not necessarily live up to all of that profundity. I can see why he took the take that he did. It reads a lot more like narrative, like an actual fiction. There's dialogue included. He said he tried to keep it as true to what could have possibly happened. A lot less introspection and analysis. That was saved for the prologue and the endnotes. It's a little bit on the introductory side, but I really appreciated this study, this look at a different aspect of a very not so pretty part of our history. And then that brings me to the Empire of Gold. I will have to be completely honest. Most of this I read / listened to while playing The Sims this afternoon. This is a 29-hour audiobook. Yes, I know that there's not 29 hours in a day. I listen at 2.7 times speed. Most people are like, you can understand that? Yes, because that's how fast my brain works. I need it faster than regular speed. The reason that I said that I have to admit that I listened to a good portion of this while playing The Sims is because even though The Sims can be a mindless game and I'm not necessarily creating storylines in there, a little bit more attention is being placed on that than I probably should have given to this because this book is huge. I don't think it needed to be this long. I'm giving it a little bit of grace because I wasn't paying as much attention to it as I should have, but this is probably my least favorite out of the series. The plot, the political-ish machinations as we're going on and all of these different storylines, did they need to be there? I don't think that they did. There were some things that were crucial to have in there. You needed to understand X, Y, Z. But at the same time, do we have to keep doing reveal after reveal after reveal? Can we not just take us a little bit more directly to the point? Some people have complained about where the love interest sort of goes towards the end and the different choices made on that. I'll have to say, I was never a fan of one of the people as a love interest, and the other one in the first book, definitely not a fan of him being a love interest, but he shows tremendous character growth over these 3 novels, which I really appreciated. I probably will rate this a low 4 stars. Was it my best outing with Shannon Chakraborty? No. Did I still enjoy my read? Yes. I really like how she tells all of these things. I kept most of my reviews short, and I'm trying to keep this rapid portion short because the battery is blinking, and I don't want to have to stop and put in a new battery just for the outro. We shall see how many books I end up reading in this last week of September. September, a lot less books than August, but that's okay. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one.